This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Hear it here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's lava. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
And welcome back to Haymaker Combat Sports. I am your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow host, Steve Johnson, and introducing the ace here, Chris Sanders. How we doing, fellas?
Good. Thanks for having me today, man. Definitely some good fighting happened this week. Some good fighting.
Yeah, for sure. But to give a background on Mr. Sanders a little bit, we go back, way back, like 15 years.
Almost red light, green light, but just a little older than red light, green light. You know what I'm saying? almost, but just a little older than red light, green light.
Pretty much. But orientation, University of South Carolina. That's like 08, man. My sister, she was pregnant with my nephew at the time, man. He's in high school, man. We getting old.
Too old.
Man,
yeah, it was a good time going down to University of South Carolina, meeting you. You was the first person I met, I think. And we rocked out. Yeah, we had a good time down there. Good run. Learned a lot. Maybe learned a lot. Hopefully, a little bit.
Yeah, I remember you coming over, man, with the laundry, getting on the sticks. Everybody getting beat in 2K.
Hey, come on now. I was over there. Come on, stop it. I was up. My Knicks was always being. Come on now. Don't do that.
Hey, we know the truth, man. We know the truth. But yeah, man, good times. So before we get into the meat of the show, man, I just want you to give the listeners a little background on, where you from and kind of your history with the sport of boxing before we get into it.
Yeah, I'm from New York, Brooklyn to be the site. Lived a lot in South Carolina as well, and some in Rhode Island. For the most part, I got a background in amateur fighting. I got close to 46 fights in that as an amateur. So boxing was one of my key things. Love the sport. Died by it. Try to do it every day. Live the lifestyle of it. Just the workouts, the fights, different cities fought in. So I'm very familiar with a lot of fighters that are fighting now that are pro. It's really cool to watch some of my fellow amateurs turn into pro, watch them fight on TV. Like, I know him, or even fight some pros, preparing them for a fight. They'll come to the gym and they'll ask for sparring matches. So I got to get around a lot. Boxing is a unique place, really unique sport. So it's really hard. It's really challenging. People don't know the mental behind it. Everybody sees the glory, the fights and stuff, but to get into that fight frame, preparing for somebody is so hard. People just don't even understand.
What's up, man? I mean, like you said, a lot of people don't see things that go behind the scene with fighting. They see, all the good things people go out there, But I remember what was this? New Year's Eve of 2013 going into 2014. This was back when you were training, man. You were cutting for a fight, and we all went out, and we're not going to get too much into the details, but cutting for a fight and drank a little bit, you might lit.
It's hard to take liquor when you're fighting and you cut weight. You really don't have no carbs. You really just, a lot of fighters that you see on TV, most of them are 20 to 30 pounds heavier than their fight weight. Myself, I fought at 152. I walk around like 185. So, most fighters cut weight. So trying to, consume as little calories possible and function in day-to-day life. A lot of us, only a few amount can actually do this full time without doing another job. Most fighters are, fighting as if, they're everyday human beings has a city job, working job, just working and fighting and working and fighting. So it's really hard on you. You have a family, you have, birthdays come up, Christmas come up, holidays come up. You got to stay focused. That's why people don't understand. Like, especially recently this fight, any fight this happened recently in the last 2 weeks. Think about 4th of July, a lot of cookouts, summertime. You're missing out. You have to miss out on those things, and that's just really hard.
Yeah, man. I can only imagine, man, being that disciplined and, like you said, having to go through the dieting and then actually have to go in there and spar and train. And I mean, boxing, some of the most well-conditioned athletes in the world, man. So
I mean, before you even get in a fight, you're kind of beat up, to be honest with you. You're gonna spar some of the best people in your town, the city, or wherever you're working out, whoever's in camp. So you're getting touched by them. It's only a short period of time where you're not fighting for a little bit, maybe a week or so, or 2 weeks before the fight. But for that time, there's injuries that come up. You don't hear about the shoulder pain. You don't hear about all the little nits of black eyes and stuff that happen during training camp that you might get. So you're going through that every day to day. You're trying to cut weight and you're trying to prepare for an individual that you never fought before, or you have fought before, but now you're trying to do different strategies and see their weakness. So it's really a chess game. It's really chess.
yeah, like they say, every fighter goes into a fight with some type of, nick in it. They're not going to be 100% healthy. Like you said, you're in training, you're going to be hurt. But as long as you don't have any major injury, though.
Yeah, there's never a fight that you, even as an amateur, you always going somewhat hurt, somewhat tired. You're just never 100%. There's no fight that goes into a fight 100% unless you're not trying to lose weight and you're this your comfortable weight. But for the most part, just trying to cut weight and drain your body down to this small petite size just the night before, you can't recover and put on 20 pounds a night the next night and be able to fight and be fast and strong. So just on that.
Yeah, man. So what we did with the first episode when we were still Haymaker MMA, we went back and, laid out our favorite fighters and our favorite fights and our favorite cards. So I kind of wanted to do something similar with this first boxing episode because this is the first boxing episode we run in. I want to kind of go around the room and see everybody's favorite boxer of all time, their favorite current boxer, and then their favorite fight of all time. So I'll kick it off. My favorite all-time fighter, I think I'm going to go with Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. kind of gets a lot of slack because, kind of a lack of competition when he was out there just knocking people out, man. But, I like how he used to style on people, man. Roy Jones Jr., especially when he was at super middleweight and he went up to light heavyweight, got the belt, and until he hit that, little bit of lull in his career after the second Tarver fight, man. Looked like he was unstoppable, man. Like, just go back on YouTube and look at Roy Jones highlight reels, man. Get a sense for all of you younger listeners out there. But yeah, man, I gotta go with Roy Jones Jr. with that. Y'all mess with Roy Jones at all?
Yeah.
As a teenager, I saw that second Antonio Tarver fight, and that hurt my feelings. Like you said, indestructible. You know what I'm saying? He got knocked out that way. It's like, man, you hate to see your idol as far as a boxer like go down like that. So definitely agree.
Yeah, for sure. Favorite cover fighter though. Man, there's a lot of young talent out there, but I think I'm gonna have to go with my boy Tio, man. Teofimo Lopez. Yeah, man. I mean, he beat Lomachenko, man. Everybody was talking about how Lomachenko was the boogeyman down there at lightweight, and he went in and won handily, I think. And he ran into that little wall when he lost to Cambosis, lost all the belts, but then, he's a little bit big for that weight class, and he went up to junior welterweight, beat Josh Taylor, even though I think Josh Taylor's a little bit overrated, but story for a different day. But man, yeah, I like how Tio goes in there. He styles on you. He's gonna have an exciting fight. He's not gonna be a boring fight whenever he gets in there. So I gotta go with Tio. Any y'all got any thoughts on Tio?
I can
He's a good
listen. I
fighter.
don't, I don't know Tio. I really don't.
What do you think about Tio, Chris?
He's a good fighter. I think he can put things together in a fight. It can make it difficult to think about as you're trying to prepare for him. He can put things together. You could probably outsize him. If I'm a fighter, I probably outsize him and stuff. But just seeing he could put things together, like he can make a masterpiece. And so it could be a little tough. It could be a tough fight than what people expect when they're looking at first.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm excited to see where his career goes as long as he stays focused, man. He's kind of in his head a little bit and, you know, kind of talk crazy online at times, but I like where the kid's going. And my favorite fight of all time. This fight didn't last long. I went back and looked at it a couple weeks ago. Hagler Hearns, man, only lasted 3 rounds, but man, slugfest, back and forth. They came out of the gate just swinging too, man. Not a lot of not a pretty technique at that. And then they kind of settled down in the second round. But I mean, you go like that, you're gonna get gassed. And Hearns got caught. I think he was more gassed. He was hurt, but he was probably more so gassed though. He got back up. Yeah. I mean, the ref raved it off. So I gotta say that's my favorite fight of all time.
Definitely. He got the worst end of the exhaustion after that first round, definitely.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace to Marvin Hagler, man. Yeah, so I'll kick it off to you, Steve.
Well, my favorite fighter because of his style in all martial arts, animes or cartoons, I always like the fighter dodging stuff like it's nothing, right? It's seeing it coming. And one of those fighters that I've always been gravitated to or magnetized to is Emmanuel Augustus. And I like him because he set a new style, which for boxing, they always like the sweet science and technique to where he bent the rules based off his body structure and his technique that he knew he can do. It's a shame that they don't tie in boxing into martial arts with the other ones, but it really is. And he utilized his talents to create weird angles. And knowing the lore of his story, even Mayweather had to give him his credit on. I think even Mayweather learned a few tricks from him after fighting.
What's up? That's what's up. I like it. So that's your favorite boxer of all time?
I wouldn't say of all time. He's one of my favorites. I would give you this one. My favorite boxer of all time. He gets a lot of hate, Mayweather. Just for dodging, not getting hit, saving his longevity, his brain, and all that. For any other boxer that really hasn't done it like he's done, I give Mayweather his respect. Although they don't give him his credit in his latter day career. I think he was a firecracker in his early career, doing what people say he did in his later career.
Man, we could probably go on the whole show just talking about Mayweather. I mean, he's definitely a polarizing figure in the sport of boxing. I mean, I enjoyed his fights, even though a lot of people said his fights were boring, especially towards the end. But I mean, you got to respect a defensive fighter, man, not to get hit. I mean, from what we know, he didn't take a whole lot of damage. His fists were kind of brittle at the end of it, but man, you got to give it, take your hat off for Mayweather and what he did in his career, 50-0. Chris, were you ever a Mayweather fan?
Huge Mayweather fan. The reason I'm being a huge Mayweather fan is not just the stuff that he does in the ring, how he takes care of his body outside the ring, his work ethic. Like when you do boxing, you see him, he does it with just so finesse, hitting the pads, doing everything, the workouts, the running. Like it's just second nature to him. He does have great people around him. His uncles were great fighters. His father's a great fighter. So he has a good mentor. But his defense, it can go out without saying. He's the only person I think that can win fights how he wins fights. If anybody else was to fight like that, it wouldn't be recognized how we recognize it with Mayweather. Because again, like you said, he was a firecracker in the beginning. He would knock you out. He would knock you out in the beginning, And I'm not saying he can't knock out people, but he was giving people boxing lessons in that ring, and not a lot of people can do that. And what he was doing defensively was just on top. Like as a boxer, you watch him and like, how does he's slipping out, and he's so quick. He's a lot quicker than what people think he is. He's a lot stronger than what people think he is. And like when you hear other fighters fight him, it's like he's right there, but I can't touch him. For some reason, I'll swing, I'll try to punch him, I'll try to knock him out, but it's like I can't hit him, I can't get a clean shot on him, and he'll just pop you. Pop. He's just so talented. He's one of my top favorite fighters. Definitely.
He was a puzzle that nobody could solve. So hey, like I said, you just got to take your hats off for the guy. Who's on your radar now, Steve, as far as current fighters?
Well, saying that I do love boxing, but not into it. But to say who's on my radar, saying that, of course, we had the fights that passed by, but I think we got other fights to talk about. The next new fights. Gervonta, see Devin Haney situation or anything like that, or we can with both of my worlds mix in boxing MMA, we got this Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury, and also this Nate Diaz and this Jake Paul situation. So there's a few fights I'm looking forward to and really want to see, but sticking to pure boxing, the Gervonta, and I want to see who he faces out of the Devin Haney situation. In that other cat, I can't remember who's in the contingency situation.
Steven?
Yes, that's who it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Tank Davis, man. He showed out against Ryan Garcia. So excited to see what's in the future for Tank. But how about favorite fighter of all time?
Man, I would have to say Mayweather, but that's a given. But just to get a second one, it might be a given. Tyson.
Mike Tyson. Come on now.
Okay,
Tyson.
Come on.
Any particular fight in general, like any specific fight that you recall off the top of your head being one of your favorites?
I mean, there's a lot of them, but he had a few competitive ones, but the most ones that are more popular are the ones you just straight wreck people. I mean, I can go on and on, but of course what he's famous for is the ear bite, but just as far as just devastating somebody, and I said, oh my God, what's his name? Like I said, there's Peter Neely. He knocked him out, right? I mean, I can go on and on, but just him and all his fights that he just devastated people in first round. I mean, he's top 5 of entertainment and devastating fighters, I think.
For sure. I mean, like we could do a whole nother show on Tyson as well, as far as what he meant to the sport and pop culture in general. But I'll pass it off to you, Chris. Who's your favorite fighter of all time?
You know what? It is Tyson. I do like Roy. I like Roy. Roy was like middle schoolish, high schoolish. Like he was the man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wanted to be. I think he had a rap song and everything. Like Roy was just super hip hop. Mayweather's Mayweather, but something when I got into boxing as young and understand what boxing really was, it was everybody going to see the Mike Tyson fight. Always on TV. Everybody would just come in the living room, go to someone's house. It was always a big event. Not saying other fights weren't, but being so young, just hearing who's Mike Tyson, just trying to figure it out, and he knocking people out, just knocking them out, pop out, so making this look so easy. And being a student of the game, especially in his earlier years, you realize how good Mike was. Like if you really pay attention to the game of boxing, you study what Mike was doing, especially early with his first trainer or whatever the case may happen in that situation. But when he had him, man, he was to me was untouchable. He was focused, he was in shape, and it almost felt like he was always a little guy, knocking out all these big guys out, just knocking them out. And you're like, oh man, what's he about to do? He about to hit him. And that's what makes me enjoy watching Tank sometimes, because especially now that he went up in weight class, these guys are a little bit bigger than Tank, but there's something about that power that kid got that's just you can't teach. I've been in the ring with some kids that are just too talented. I can't beat them. I can't figure them out. They're just a little quicker, a little bit more skills. But I never really scared of those fighters. The people I was really scared of are those natural born, just hit you one time and can put you to sleep. The heavy hand hitters. And I was like, oh man, when you get hit by one of them, so you be forgetting what day it is. You're like, is it Monday? Like you go back to your rooms. I remember it's just those type of fighters. And Tank got that power. Mike Tyson has that power. There's only a few that actually have that power that can hit you at any time and put you to sleep. So that's what it goes there.
Not to go too far off topic, but what do you think about people saying that Tank drained Garcia in that fight?
That's part of the business. That's part of the business, and regardless if he did or not, it's part of the business. That's just what they signed up for. And when you're at a certain level in the business, you can make decisions and you can make regulations on what the other opponent has to agree to. They want that fight, so he agreed to that, and that's what it is. Almost can a lot of fighters don't use that excuse. I don't think Ryan used that excuse. It got leaked out, but it wasn't something that he used. He lost to the better fighter that night. He's a good fighter too. I think he's a really good fighter.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. As far as current fighters, who's on your radar right now as far as current fighters?
You know what? I'm a big fan of the lightweight class with Tank and the middleweight class. I'm just a big fan. Not the middleweight, the welterweight class. I'm a huge fan. When those fights are on, like the one we just saw this weekend, those guys I think are all just talented. They mirror my weight class as well, so I'm really in tune, like just watching them. I don't have a real favorite. I do have matches I want to see, but I don't have a real favorite. I just like that whole class. When anybody's fighting in that class, I'm glued to the table. Like, I want to see what they got. So
I dig it. So it could be current fight. I mean, more recent fight or a fight a long time ago. What fight like really got you and like, man, this is all time classic?
You know what? Me just studying Mayweather, him versus what fight, right? Like you said earlier, Steve, what fight doesn't he have that's not amazing? But his angles that he took with a Toro Gotti was just like what are you doing? Like Mayweather, stop! What are you doing? Like you just can't. You can't teach that stuff that he does, And the way he's moving, he's using the Philly stance a lot, the defense, and he can get out of that, get back into it, and he's just so quick. A lot of people can't do both. That's why just watching him and him picking his angle, the double up top, the double down low, it's just like, oh my God, it's just magic right there. So that's one of my favorite fights. Also, I'm a big fan too of, this is a three-way fight. Roy Jones, Bernard Hopkins, and Tony Allen, they all fought each other, and just watching those three fighters, because it was more like when I was growing up, just watching them fight each other and watch them fight, they brought really excitement to me watching those fights. Even though Roy kind of got the best out of all, I think he only lost one time out of the 3-4 fights he had with all three of them. Just watching them and them being just great fighters after all three of them, just winning in different weight classes and just being great fighters. I think I like those three as well.
Man, I feel like Bernard Hopkins a little bit underappreciated, man. Especially the longevity he had. He fought all the way until he was like 50. Who does that, man?
Talented too, very smart, defensive minded. Wouldn't throw too much to get himself in harm's way. So yeah, he's very, what they call him, the alien or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what his nickname at the end. Yeah, yeah, he's really good. He's a really good fighter.
Shouts out to Bernard Hopkins. So, fellas, we had a big fight this past weekend with Bud Crawford and Errol Spence. Before we actually get into the fight, how do y'all feel that the buzz was coming into this fight? Because this is a fight between two pound for pound top fighters. You don't see that happen too often. But I don't know. Y'all think this really crossed over mainstream as far as hype goes into the fight?
I will say fight. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm saying that as a person that loves boxing but catch it when I can, um, I heard, and not only that, my occupation where I see multiple clients. This fight was talked about, a lot, and to even say that I knew about it and tuned in to see it. Uh, I think so. It's because, like I think me and EJ's talked about the fluidity of fights, like in the '90s, it's not having. I don't know what's going on in the industry, but has been happening back to back. And it seems like lately they've been putting out boxing fights that we've been waiting to see, And I think Errol Spence and this Terrence Crawford. I think that Garcia and Gervonta was the warm up for the season, And then it's like, okay, we got this Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, And I think it was big news as far as upcoming and being watched.
Chris?
Yeah, no, I loved it. Like you were just saying, piggyback off that, they're giving the big fighters a fighting. They're not hiding and they're not scared to take the L and get, just they're fighting this time around. I like that because it's not like if they take an L, we're not gonna watch them again. I'm a big fan of, like, again, that especially that weight class. Spence lose, Spence not lose. Crawford lost. If you'd have lost and not lost, I'm still gonna watch them fight their next fights. I think they're both talented fighters, so I'm a big fan of both of them. Yeah, I'm glad they got a rocket. Definitely glad they got a rocket.
So something I noticed recently with boxing, as far as fights that sell like 1.5, 2 million buys, is that a lot of those fights got racial undertones. You look at even just with Tank and Ryan Garcia, the Mayweather versus the Pacquiao, Mayweather versus De La Hoya, Mayweather versus Canelo. That was a 2 million. Mayweather versus McGregor. That's like one of the all-time most selling fights. It's always one race on one side and one race on the other side. And I guess that's a conversation for another podcast on why. But, it was nice seeing, two brothers going to the fight with some hype and had to have a lot of those antics behind it. They talk trash, but it wasn't, nothing out of hand. So what do y'all prefer, more friendly competitions like this hype going into the fight, or do y'all like the circus of some of those other fights?
Well, I like it. I like it to where, like you said, there's racial undertone, but I think I love it even more to where culturally how we flame each other, but can make the other person laugh, and they know it's true, and everybody's both laughing at the same time, or they're just going at it and not being too serious. But I think it's also scenario based off of, they say style makes fights. I think personality makes arguments. So I think it depends on the matchup.
What do you think, Chris?
I'm the same way, but I love the antics. I love the trash talking. There's racial tension, all of that, because it gives more to the fight. You know what I'm saying? It gives more to the fight, and it almost put pressure as a fighter. It might put pressure on you. You're not just doing it for yourself. You're not just doing it for your family. You're doing it for a whole culture, whole this, whole that. So you're putting more pressure on it. And I've been in amateur fights where I taught junk to people. Like, I can't. I'm coming today. I'm whoop your ass this and the third. And after the fight, guess what we're doing? We're hugging. The fighter. best of luck if I lost, best of luck if I won from him. And it's just love after, because we know what we put ourselves through right there. But, before the fight, you're supposed to let that out. You're supposed to get, the antics out. You're supposed to talk your junk. You're supposed to be, to me, it's a form of showing confidence in yourself. So I don't mind that. And you can show confidence in yourself by being quiet, just knowing that you are who you are. But I like it. As a fan watching it, I want to see them talk junk to each other and see if they can back it up. I love that. That's me.
Oh,
Funny
so
you say that.
go
I didn't
ahead,
mean to,
Steve.
bro. It's funny you say that because if anybody's been in a fight and then just been cool with anybody or a brother or a friend, and I haven't been in any ring or professional situation, but pretty sure when you understand, Chris, to where you leave it in the ring, it gives respect to somebody, especially when you intermingle with another man like that with violence. You know what I'm saying? It gives a respect level, and it's sort of like real life, man. You can get in a fight with a friend or a brother and say, and after that, like, man, you gonna pass some cookies? You know what I'm saying? Be cool
Right.
after it. So I can see definitely what you're saying. Yes.
I was about to say, so Chris, you with the messiness. Who was it? Adrian Broner when he's fighting Paulie with talking about.
I loved it. Oh, I loved it. Oh, I loved every moment. Loved every moment.
It was he's talking about having his girl in his DM or something like that.
Paulie could talk junk too, and Paulie was talking junk. That's why I like it. Paulie's not gonna back down. I like Paulie. You know what I'm saying? He's a really good fighter. I think Paulie's a really good fighter. So Paulie would talk jump back. And Adrian Bonus is AB's AB. You know what I'm saying? So AB's he goes below Bill a little bit, but I love it.
Plus, I think boxing is still a community, sort of like comedy. It's a laugh. Boxing is still a community. You can get away with things as far as press conference, saying like we were talking about, EJ, racially motivated fights. Boxing community can get away with that, and that's what I like about it too. It's the fighting is an art form, but the upcoming of the fight is almost an art form too.
Now, who was it recently? Was it Shakur Stevenson where he's fighting somebody and somebody's sister got involved?
I think I can't remember. I can't recall it, but probably that happens.
That would definitely hype up a fight right there.
Yeah, I would tell my sister, "Yo, throw a shoe over there on the other side right now." Like, you know what I'm saying? Get the press going. It's not, but it's like, again, once it's all them guys, for the most part, I can't speak for everybody, but for the most part, there's a huge respect. Some people you're just not gonna respect your second real life, but for the most part, if you lost, if you won, just getting in the ring with somebody when the lights on YouTube, so there's nothing but respect because not a lot of people jump in that ring. That ring, it's just you and him.
And at the end of the day, the antics, after all, it's like they say, like, oh, what, you just gonna talk stuff? Like, none of that matters because the antics is your guys are gonna do the most ultimate insult, fighting. You know what I'm saying? So words, oh, you said this, but you're about to physically harm somebody. So that's why I like the uniqueness of boxing. It negates anything because we're getting to the ultimate of contradiction, which is fighting.
Yeah, I agree. So let's fast forward to the night of the actual fight. Errol Spence comes out. No disrespect, I can't remember the guy's name. Big X the Plug, I guess, is a Texas rapper.
Okay.
He walks out with him down the ring. All right, so we waiting to see who Terrence comes out with. All you hear is dun 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 dun. Comes out with Slim Shady, Eminem. I mean, that's kind of a foreshadowing of probably how this fight is gonna go. One guy comes out with a local rapper, no disrespect to Big X the Plug, and the other fighter comes out with Eminem, probably one of the greatest rappers of all time. So, you dig the Slim Shady interest, Chris?
Yeah, I'm not mad at Crawford either, helping out a local person. He's from Texas, if I'm not mistaken, too, as well. So if he's helping out a local rapper out there, put him on primetime, because this is primetime network. This is, everybody bought in. They're watching this. This is a time for him to show off and perform. So now, like we're having a conversation about this guy. We would never have a conversation about him probably unless he did a concert in our town or something. So now we're talking about him, and we have to hear his music and see like, who is this guy. So for that to be said, I'm not mad at that. I know. Again, we all know who Eminem is. It's exciting that we saw Eminem got a big name, but you know the local fighter. That's his time to show him love. We'll put you on this big stage and put you out there so people can hear about you and talk about you. I think that's dope. I really do. I think I commend him for that because he could have. Let's not like Spence couldn't bring out someone else. He could have brought out another famous rapper or something like that as well. It's not like this he don't but to bring up someone from his hometown and what's this like that, and we could be short saying this guy could be popping. All I know, I'm just not familiar with his music, so I don't want to be disrespectful to him. But you know, he's not. I don't think he's on Eminem's level. So just to show him that love, put him on that stage against Eminem, I don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, well, shout out to Big X the Plug. You got put on a big platform. But let's talk about this actual fight. So, round one, Spence put the pressure on Bud. I gave Spence, round one. Then after that, it was pretty much all Bud Crawford. That second round, he got a knockdown with that straight jab. Pretty much dominated all the other rounds after that. In the seventh, he dropped him with that counter right. And then he hit that uppercut and dropped him in the round 7, and he got him out of there round 9. The story of this fight was pretty much counter punching and jabs, and everybody thinks that Spence being the technical, more technical fighter, with that jab. People thought Spence was going to jab Crawford to death, but Crawford put it on him, man. He was the more aggressive fighter, I think. So, what were your thoughts on the fight?
For me, it kind of played out like I thought it was gonna play out. I had Spence doing well early, but then I thought Crawford was gonna make it tough and then probably pull away at the end. Probably I had around 9-10 that Crawford was just gonna, be more technical than Spence and just pull away from it. It just kind of I thought Spence would have a little bit more. I was a little shocked by it, from the second on. It didn't seem like, he was still trying to figure him out. And I don't think he really caught up to the speed of the plan of what he had going on. It's almost like one of those Mike Tyson talks, like everybody got a plan so you get punched in the face type of things. And I don't know if he was able to recover from that and think of something else. He kept, being he couldn't go forward with him no more. So he didn't switch it up. He didn't go in defense with him. And give that to Crawford credit there because he's just a tough animal, man. I was telling someone the other day, like I don't even know how to plan for him if I had a fight against him. Like the guy can switch hands and knock you out with either he can go left hand and knock you out, he can go right hand and knock you out. And so he can pick on your weaknesses. So he's tough. And he's a counter puncher. So he's definitely tough. Definitely tough.
Steve, what were your impressions of the fight?
From what I saw, the best way I can explain it is it's like say two people have to stand in one spot, and if you move, you have to start the timer over. Or the chess game, you move the pieces and the other person, is forced hand. I feel like that first knockdown forced his hand to try to keep up with the points and stuff, which forced his hand to do things that he really didn't want to do to catch up from that mistake. And that can mentally put somebody in a position not to be where they need to be to punches the land, and especially if somebody's being very precise with their technique and being very firm like that. Like I said, I moved and this person hasn't moved, and my timer has to restart. Like Crawford was very firm with his technique and didn't budge to where I think Errol Spence was catching up, especially after that first knockdown, which I think affected the whole fight, and then concentration, then get knocked down 2 times in the 7th. I mean, like you said, Crawford is not only physically a good fighter, but as we see, a mentally firm fighter also.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, Chris, what do you think that Spence should have done differently to have a different outcome with the fight as far as the X's and O's?
Wow. Again, like I don't even know because Spence fights a special type of way. He almost has like a very technique Mexican style. Like he's a brawler. Like he can go in the trenches with you. Digging your stomach and you know make outwork you. He's a worker fighter. He's super work, but he's technical, very technical. He can dodge punches. He's very fluid in the ring. He knows what he's doing. But a guy that's a counter puncher like that, again, that can switch both hands. I don't even like you can't play back because like you said, he got knocked down and now you're behind, so you can't be on defense now. Now you have to be the more aggressive, but if you're more aggressive, you're setting yourself up to get hit. So yeah, he was just in a tough one from the beginning, ever since that run fell and just trying to recover. He just never could find that rhythm to recover.
Yeah, I mean, Crawford pretty much outclassed him on every level in the fight. I mean, people were saying how Spence was, drained going down to 147. He needs to go to 154. But I mean, Spence has always fought at 147, so you can't really use that as an excuse. I mean, people get bigger. They want to try to fight more at their natural rate as they get older, but I mean, you can't use that as an excuse.
Yeah, like again, it's tough to make weight. It is tough to make weight. And now you're mentally trying to make weight, and then you got to go against this technical fighter, and it's just a lot on your body. I don't think he's holding it as an excuse. I know he wants to jump to 154, the next weight up, but he's won three belts on that level, so it's not like he made a weight comfortably. It might have been a stress, but it drains you out after a while. You don't want to keep doing that, and taking a loss like that would make you rethink that. He wants to do the fight. I heard him say he wants to do the fight at 154. I don't see why Crawford wouldn't take that fight or would take the fight. I don't. At this point, I think they should just go their separate ways for a little bit. Let's see him fight other people, then come back for that and make it more than what it is. So we can see Crawford. I mean, we can see Spence be great as he is, and then see Crawford do his thing as being great, and then we can get that match. I don't think back to back right now would be so good for us to watch as fans.
So they have a rematch clause, and you kind of touched on it. You don't think that they fight right away?
I don't think they should. I know Spence wants to get right back into it because taking a loss like that, you can watch the tape and he physically in there. Like after I took a loss, I'm like, all right, I know what I'm gonna do next time. I fought a few people I fought before, and the second fight, if I lost again, it was totally different than the first fight I lost. So, you just have a different game plan because it's different when you don't know, you haven't touched gloves with this person, and now you touch gloves with this person. Now you have a different mentality. Now I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that. So I know his mind's going, but just watching it and seeing how his format was, I don't really see. And like, yeah, you could say he was drained down, but 154, I don't. I just don't. I think he should just go to the next weight class and show how great he is. I think he should put on his weight back. I think he's a strong hitter and just start knocking the boys out at 154. I'm still a big fan of Crawford. Didn't take my fan away from him. I'm still gonna watch Crawford as well, but I think he should just go up to the next weight. Don't worry about that. One of those bills there, and if Crawford wants to meet him there, just do it.
So if they do fight again, I want to ask both of you: you think the fight goes the same way, or you think Spence adjusts and maybe have a different result for the fight if they do rematch?
Well, I think I mean it can go two ways. Um, we haven't really seen them come back from a loss. Uh, it's it's a matter of if they felt like, I mean, of course, Terrence Crawford is going to have the better outlook on it, but who knows? Maybe Errol Spence learned a lesson from that fight and can readjust and have a new game plan. Um, like I said, I think we'll have to wait and see and let this loss simmer on Errol Spence to see what he wants to do because only he knows how hard he hit, or if he wants it, if he wants more sauce from Terrence Crawford.
I think it'll be tough for Crawford to come back. I mean, Spence to come back for this one. right away. I think he needs to go in the lab, get some work done, just figure it out. Because again, he's just a different fight me style. I don't know if this fight style would be good for Crawford. He's sitting in the pocket with him, and Crawford could just take it away from him. Like we saw the first round, looked great, but does he got 12 of that? And I'm not saying he doesn't. I just think he has to drain down again to 47. It take a lot from his body. He's back in the same predicament again, and he's dealing with a technical fighter. For me, if I would just look at 154, be comfortable at a higher weight. I think he can handle those guys up there. I think he's strong. I think he's technical too. You don't have to drain himself so much. I think he'll do well up there, and I think they can get this fight out later again. And Crawford fight moves up, so I don't think right away it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna side with you on that one. I don't think it's a good idea as well. So Crawford was the victor in this one, and this was definitely a legacy fight. So where at on the all-time welterweight list would you put Crawford? You got your Sugar Ray Leonard, your Sugar Ray Robinson, you got, of course, Mayweather. That's off the top of my head. So where would you put Crawford in that pantheon of all-time welterweight greats? Chris?
He's in a different category now because I think he's the only fighter to get all 4 belts, right?
Mm-hmm. The 4-belt era. He's the only. And he did it in 2 divisions too.
2 divisions, 4 belts, went up in weight class. So you gotta put them up there high. I don't know if people hold those belts as much as the media does. We all look at the champ and we want to see the champs versus the champs. But he technically, as a boxer, oh man, he's got to be up there. He's just a defensive counter puncher. He's got to be up there. He's almost like Mayweather in a sense. He's not going to take a lot of damage. He's not going to get hurt. He's gonna make sure he's out of harm's way, and he's gonna give you I like Crawford because it never seems like he knocks his opponent out cold, but he almost knocks you out in a way where he I'm here and you're there. We're not on the same level. You're good, but I'm over here. He's never gonna knock you out like Mike Tyson, put you to sleep like that. With these being especially talking up in weight, it's gonna be a little tougher for him, but I just feel like the way he's teaching these guys the boxing technique, he's got to be at least top 4 up there. I don't know where to put him. You can argue 1, 2, 3, 4, but he's got to be in the top 4. Got to be in the top 4.
What do you think, Steve?
Saying that you said no other boxers done with as far as welterweight, 2 different weight classes, 4 belts. You said.
Yeah, it's the 4. He's the only boxer in the welterweight division, the 4-belt era, to get all 4 of the belts.
And he did that in another division as well.
He did it in junior welterweight as well, 140.
So you got to give credit where it's due, to where it sounds like if he's achieved that. Depending on somebody's bridgeway into boxing and when they're popularized into it or got into boxing, I would say as of right now, not in the 90s or the past or the 80s, the Sugar Ray Leonards were known, but as far as achievements, I would say Terrence Crawford is in the top 5 because of his achievements. But as far as the romanticism of people who grew up into Sugar Ray Leonards, the Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler's, that was an exciting time. And we may be seeing a comeback as far as that type of hype for boxing if they keep pushing out these fights like that. So, yeah, he's done a good achievement for boxing, for be the first to do that in welterweight.
So it will definitely be on the lookout for what's next for Bud Crawford if it's not the rematch first. He's 35, so I mean he's in the twilight of his career, but he put a masterful class of performance on this past weekend. So hats off to Terrence Crawford. So, fellas, something that we did for the first MMA episode was we went through pound for pound top 5 as far as MMA goes. So we're going to do the same for boxing. And I'm going to kick off the list. At number 5, I got Shakur Stevenson, man. The kid is nice. He's got defense. I mean, he's not known as like a knockout artist, but I mean, The kid's got all the tools in the belt to be all-time great. I mean, he's still going up the ranks as far as weight goes because he's like, what, 23, 24? He's still young. So I got Shakur Stevenson at my number 5. Who's in your number 5 spot, Chris?
Then I'm gonna go with Tank.
Tank? Okay.
Then I'm gonna go Tank there. Because you can argue and say he hasn't fought the top elite, but the elite that he did fought, he took care of that. That's why I'm going with Tank at 5.
All right. All right. I dig it. I dig it. Who you got, Steve?
Now, is this pound for pound or
Yeah, this is pound for
just
pound.
Damn, I wish I had a list in front of me. Let's see.
So I'll read you a list, ESPN's top 10. They got Crawford at number 1, Inoue at number 2, Spence number 3 still, but I guess they haven't redone it yet. They got Usyk at number 4, Canelo 5, Tyson Fury 6, Beterbiev at number 7, Dimitri Bivol at number 8, Stevenson 9, and Lomachenko at 10.
Well, off the top of my head, I know a few of those fighters, and like I said, the dude in contingency that's getting hype. I like that number because I've heard Lomachenko's and stuff, and they had losses, and I'm all for people that are on the rise and haven't showed any flaw as far as being a champion. I would have to go with Stevenson because I think I heard 4 boxers that we seen. Maybe Stevenson 4 or 5, but I'll go at 5 with Stevenson for
All right,
right now.
all right. At number 4, I got the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury at number 4. He's still undefeated. He only got that draw against Wilder, which is controversial. I think Fury won that fight. I mean, he's still your lineal heavyweight champion. I think he's the WBA or WBO. He's got one of those heavyweight belts. I mean, he's got the defense, man. He moves big. He goes into fights in the 260s. Big boy, move well. Until I see somebody beat him, he's gonna always be in my top 5. So I got Fury at number 4. Who you got at number 4, Chris?
I got Devin Haney.
Ooh, Devin Haney.
Yeah, 4. Got 4. Tough. I mean, he's a champ right now, so I gotta respect it. There's a lot of fighters that might not respect him there and stuff like that, but I respect him there. I think he earned his stripes. He got it from the mud up. I respect how he got it, and I'm gonna throw him at 4. I like him there. I like him. They got the belts. He's rolling.
What do you say to the naysayers that say Haney is a boring fighter?
I mean, you can make everybody happy. All I know is he's taking W's and he's winning. That's it. We look at the W's. You know what I'm saying? And he's being the people that they put in front of him. So there we go. Then he's a champ. So I gotta give him credit where it's at.
I can't hate on that pick. Who you got, Steve?
I would say Gervonta.
Okay.
Because I think I have my bid in on as far as a possible fight with Devin Haney, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, and Gervonta's been looking very strong as far as being formidable, but I think Devin Haney. I think I might have my bid on a possibility of seeing through Gervonta's flaws. So I'll say that because I want Devin Haney my next one.
Okay, I dig it. So at number 3, I got Canelo Alvarez, man. I mean, what can you say? Alvarez goes out there and he gets the job done. People say he's slowing down a little bit, but I mean, as far as box office, can't go against Canelo, even though he's got that loss against Bivol, but that was at light heavyweight, and Bivol was a bit bigger than him in that fight. But, he's got a big fight coming up. We'll probably do a show for that. He's got Charlo brother coming up, but I got Canelo at my number 3. Who you got, Chris?
Got Canelo there. from him fighting Mayweather, then fighting Triple G. The first Triple G, I was a little like, okay, this is gonna be interesting. But then the next fight, it was just like he learned. Like that's why we could see something with Spence. He could learn something from it. It could come out a whole different outcome. It wasn't even fair. It almost looked like he went to the lab and he studied it. Because at that time, Triple G was one of those guys that'll knock you out. You know, if he hits you, he might knock you out. And it was a tough fight for Canelo. The first one, I think he was a little timid on just seeing how hard he punched if I could really stay in there. But once he figured out the timing and once he got hit with a few, he's like, oh, I can be in front of him. You know, he's not gonna move me like that. That second fight out, it kind of wasn't even close. Kind of wasn't close. So I'm definitely going with him. I like the pairs. Again, he did take that loss, but he won. He's going up in so many different weight classes. Again, it's so hard to make weight. So I understand Canelo. Sometimes you got that money, you don't want to be running all day. So you're like, you know what? Put me up this weight class. Let's go do it. But when he's really focused and he's locking in, he's at the right weight class. I don't think he's gonna be. It's tough. It's tough.
I dig it. I dig it. Who you got, Steve, at 3?
Devin Haney.
Devin Haney. Okay.
Yeah.
Devin Haney's high on people's list.
You're lightweight fellas, right? I like welterweight, I should say. You like all those guys.
Yeah.
Like me, I like them all.
Yeah. I was gonna get into the second because the second one was gonna be, I want to rush into it, was gonna be Terrence Crawford.
Yep.
Okay.
Of his achievements.
Well, that's your number 2?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's your number 2. So what's your number 2, Chris?
Tyson
Fury.
You know what?
King.
I'm so impressed with him as a boxer. Doesn't look like one. Doesn't look like he can last in there, but it's just seen him fall to the floor, get back up, being just confident in himself, and just knowing that I do what I do. It don't look great, but it's just magic. He just makes magic in there. And to fight who he fought and beat him how he beat him, it's just like, man, this guy, what can you do? And I don't see any other body that can beat him at heavyweight right now.
Hey, Tyson Fury is the poster child for I might have a dad body, but I could kick your ass.
1,000%. 1,000%.
I dig it. So my number 2, I got Alexander Usyk, man.
Tough.
He was the undisputed champ at cruiserweight. He came up to heavyweight, collected 3 of those belts, got Joshua. Well, who did he face? Did he face Joshua? Usyk, yeah.
Yeah.
He
So. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. So, I mean, we're all looking for that super fight between him and Fury. Fury's playing around with Ngannou, and something we'll probably talk about on another day, but we got to get Usyk and Fury in there. That's another pound for pound. Like we said, we don't see a lot of pound for pound fighters going at it, but that's one that we definitely got to see. So I give Usyk my number 2 spot. And my number 1 spot, I got to give it to Bud. He got a top 5 pound for pound guy out of there this weekend. He made it look flawless too. He didn't take any damage really. That was an all-time legacy fight, like I said. So I got to give it to Bud Crawford, my number 1. Who you got, Chris?
Yeah, he jumped to number 1 for me. He was always kind of there at number 1 and number 2 because I've seen a couple of his fights, and I've just been always impressed on how he can go left-handed or right hand and knock you out. Like I go left hand as a joke. Like that's just like, all right, I'm too tired. Like let me just switch up so I could get some energy back in my other hand. He goes it and he's doing it like really technical to knock you out still. So he's on different levels.
Steve, who you got?
Tyson Fury. As my number 1. And only because, as a heavyweight, especially a heavyweight that may have to cut, what I'm saying, depending on what it is, you carry all the weights, and sometimes you can't get down. So you automatically, if you can achieve undefeated, even, these people can go across weight classes to where heavyweight is heavyweight, most of the time, unless they have a, super heavyweight or something like that. But, hey, he's undefeated. He's the heaviest of the weight classes. How can you not give him? And he's undefeated. How can you not give him number 1? It's my opinion.
I'm not mad at it. Gypsy King as your number one spot. So yeah, it's good to get the pound for pound list out there. We don't do it every episode, but we like to do it every now and then. We'll update it sometime in the future.
And one favorite thing, he's the only one few fighters that was to catch his soul from going to the shadow realm and put it back in his body, man. That's how I give him respect for that. It's very rare to see that.
Hey, they said he rose up like the Undertaker when he got up against Wilder.
He got hit by a big boy too. It wasn't, you know what I mean. So for him to get up, that's why I said when he got up and he finished him, I was like, all right, you got to get him. You got to.
Didn't
All
have
right,
deer
so
legs either.
go ahead, Steve.
Didn't have deer legs for real either. Was able to stand up like he just got a flash knockdown. You know, he stood right up
and came back and actually he actually did some stuff after he got back up. It's not like he was running away. So hey,
that was a weird one.
hats off to Fury for his performance in that fight. So before we get out of here, we got a fight this weekend, fellas. We got Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul in I think they're in Dallas, Texas for this fight. They're in Texas for this fight. So before we make our predictions for this fight, how do y'all feel about these kind of crossover kind of circus fights as far as boxing goes? Good for the sport or bad for the sport?
For boxing, I don't think it matters. I think it's bringing more people to the sport, if anything, and it opens up the door to watch the other good fighters we have. I can see how some fighters can get upset because they're making tons of money, but that's just how the game goes. But I don't think it messes anything. Okay, well, look, we got another boxing match. We got another boxing match. We're talking about boxing, so it's still good for the sport as itself. Now, the people that's fighting, that's a different thing. But shout out to them. Definitely shout out to them.
Steve?
As an MMA fan, as far as combat sports, yeah, it's obviously I think it's good for boxing, although boxing has more leeway to say, hey, MMA guys, we don't need you, if that makes sense, because of the money they make. And then you got MMA, of course, it's going to benefit fighting a household boxer's name. This Jake Paul and Nate Diaz is entertainable because I think Jake Paul went over the hazing period of when a lot of people go through first starting, the people that's in it, oh, you can't do it, but people's earned his respect as far as taking the sport seriously. And I'm looking forward to this fight because Nate Diaz, although he's an MMA fighter, his base is boxing and he takes it seriously, trains with the Mayweathers from time to time. And when he trains on a discipline, boxing is his main training discipline. So I'm excited, and I think for both sides of the fence, boxing and MMA, it's beneficial for both.
Cool. So as far as our predictions go, I really don't know who to pick in this fight because Jake Paul, he shows when he goes against these MMA fighters, he knocks them out. He knocked out Ben Askren. He knocked out Tyron Woodley. But Diaz can box a little bit. That's his bread and butter. And he's not a knockout artist, but he's a punches and bunches guy. He has a lot of volume. But I don't even know if he's had a professional boxing match yet. So I don't know how he's gonna look like in there. A lot of MMA fighters got that muscle memory and you might have flashbacks and try to kick somebody or take somebody down. I'm just kidding, but I think because we've seen that Paul could punch a little bit. And I don't know if that volume bothers Paul because he's also the bigger fighter. Diaz is he fights at 155 when he's in MMA. I mean, he walks around probably in the 190s. But Jake Paul, I think he's the kid that walks around in the 200s. So I'm gonna say Paul catches him. Give me Jake Paul to win this one. Who you got, Chris?
Jake Paul, I think he's just a little bigger than Diaz. I mean, again, this is a different type of fight that they got going on. So it's different type of regulations. It's more of a celebrity fight, but it's real celebrity fighting. It's not like a joke celebrity fight. This is real celebrity fighting. I think this Jake's just a little bit bigger than these guys. I don't think they put him in harm's way. This is really good. I think it's fun for us to watch because even though he's not being in too much harm's way with the weight, he is fighting against combat people that can't fight. So it's interesting. You touched on him knocking out the other couple of MMA fighters, but I just think it's interesting. I don't know if Diaz gets knocked out. I think he's a tougher cookie than getting knocked out, but I don't know if he wins the fight.
So you got Paul too. Who you got, Steve?
I've learned too many lessons on, especially this crossover stuff. Putting faith in, the Tyron Woodley. I was upset at him for 3 weeks. He's from St. Louis, from Missouri. I'm like, man, how can you do it to us? Nate Diaz, of course, I'm rooting for him. But I have to be a realist after so many trials. I just try to say, I want him to win because I like him. Like you said, the weight difference in Nate Diaz towards the end of his career, and I felt like a few times towards the end of his MMA career, he was one of that Roy Jones factor to where like, oh my God, my idol. And Nate Diaz, he's not, but he's one of those fighters that you feel like he can go through the storm. But seeing those type of fighters getting knocked out, I'm not putting my bid on Nate Diaz again. Or people like that. I'm gonna have to go with Jake because he's been specifically training in boxing. Probably has his more muscle memory download, and probably has to hit Nate one good time to make him, get frail and open up and possibly knock him out. Which we've seen Diaz a few times close to it. You get hit a good time. So Jake, because I don't want to look dumb.
Hey, now Jake's athletic, man. He's super athletic. He has a big frame on him. He looks good. Like you said, we haven't talked about him. We got to take him serious. He takes the sports very serious. I respect that for that. He's just not joking. He's really doing the runs. He's doing the reps. I'm watching these videos. I'm like, oh, he's taking it serious. Okay, then put him in. He's knocking people out. So, yeah, he's good.
So all three of us got Jake Paul winning it. So we'll definitely have our eyes out for that fight this weekend. But that brings us to the end of the show. Any shots out y'all want to give before we get on out of here?
Well, I'll say it's a pleasure meeting you, Chris. Never had the opportunity to know a boxer, you know what I'm saying? So to probably maybe in the future ask questions and have a privilege to, have feedback on these fights. So that's what's up.
I appreciate it. Now, I just appreciate my time with you boys today. Can't wait to talk to you guys some more about some more fights in the future. It was a fun time, man. Definitely just chat it up and talk about it.
Yeah, so we definitely hope we can iron out the schedules. So we definitely want Chris on here as a regular, give his boxing insight because we definitely need it because Lord knows that none of us are experts here, but that's why we do this show because we're fans of the sport and, knowledge is power and we gain knowledge every day. But
and you are first expert over here. Haymaker MMA.
Exactly.
So that's what's up.
Well, that'll do it for us. Haymaker Combat Sport Boxing Edition. And shout out to Admire. We'll have him back for MMA episode. And that'll do it for us at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Peace.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Hear it here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet Science MMA, you can get it all from us.